Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Sea podcast, and welcome to technically the first season recap of the summer, even though we may do a more official season recap after the Final Four, but we'll see. But this is definitely a talk that needs to happen, a talk that is much easier now that everything is quite clearer, and a talk that's brought a lot of chaos around, a talk that has sparked a lot of discussions, most definitely, and a talk we will unwrap in a bit. But first, let's get the general thoughts out of the way because this season needed to end. This season, football wise, was not, I wouldn't say it was as disappointing as it was presented throughout in hindsight, nonetheless. But it definitely left a sour taste in everyone. It most definitely left a lot to be desired. Because again, I feel like the more disappointment of the season isn't just the second place, isn't just being knocked out from the Greek Cup by PAOK. It's the fact that this squad could have been so much more than it was. This squad could have done so much more. I mean, again, I call back to it every single time, but we did reach Champions League knockouts this season. But sadly, because of our domestic, well, clusterfuck, uh, nothing will be given the light that it deserves because ultimately it was a failure of a season. So I think it's a bit more disappointing than it could have been because of the potential of this squad, if that makes sense. But as things end and we have a crystal clear image of everything, we're looking at Champions League. Something which I'm not going to lie, after PAOK, I did not expect. I really thought that we would finish third, but we went on. We got the result that we needed against Pana, and we got a point against AEK, semi-ruining their joke of a fiesta, and we're looking at Champions League. We are looking at Champions League, but not yet at a specific qualifier. The first of the two steps that will clear out which qualifying round we will be in, of course, happens tomorrow night at the UEFA Europa League final, in which Aston Villa need to beat Freiburg. And in the weekend, we are looking once again at the Aston Villa and Liverpool games because one of two things need to happen. I don't know why I forgot how to speak there for a second. Do forgive me. One of the two things need to happen. Aston Villa need to either get a point against Manchester City or Liverpool need to lose against Brentford, which with this Liverpool, I'm more confident than I would have been in the previous years. If that's to happen, either scenario and Aston Villa winning the Europa, we would start from the third qualifying round of the Champions League, and I'd be much, much more confident of us getting to the league phase if we start from the third. not that we wouldn't be able to get it from the second qualifying round, but games are unpredictable, and it's a lot of games, and it's a World Cup summer, so transfers are going to be weird. So starting from mid-July isn't going to be amazing. And it's sadly not in our hands, so we'll see. Yeah, it's the end of this disaster season. We can celebrate now. And come on. I started this podcast. I wanted to start it on a more positive note. I am devastated because Olympiacos should always aim to win Super League and the Cup. That's a given. But I'm not going to tear it all down. Perhaps I am a bit more confident given the fact that I know what I know now with the coach and the players and stuff. Maybe that's giving me a bit more confidence and a bit more leniency rather than coming out and saying, God, thank you for ending this torture of a season, right? But I'm happier than I would have been. We need to make much better choices in our squad and make the league stage of the Champions League. I'll get into that in a bit because I have a lot to talk about transfer-wise by the courtesy, of course, of Nikos Kotsis and the AEK. A lot happened. We have a lot to get through, but for a start, I do want to talk about the game for a bit, at least. Of course, I don't think anyone went into the game confident. I don't want to just give some insane credit, but they are rightfully champions. They are rightfully champions. But it's a team that can't beat us even in our walls, as it seems. And we showed up, especially in the first half, and played some of the best football we've played all season, which is ironic, to say the least. Of course, the starting 11 was Zolakis under the sticks, Ortega making his return, Pirola, Rechos, and Costinha, Garcia and Scipioni in midfield. I'll get to both of those. Danny Podence, who had to be subbed off due to another injury, sadly. Chiquinho, the super winger that is Rodinei, who, especially in regards to him, I have a lot to say. And Ayoub El Kabi up front. And the subs were Gelson Martins, coming on for Danny Podence, Esse coming on for Danny Garcia, and Mehdi Taremi coming on for El Kabi, Biancon coming on for Costinha, and Andre Luiz getting his shock appearance for Lorenzo Scipioni. A correction in this one. Of course, a comment saying Villa have beat Liverpool, so we pretty much have to wait for the Europa League final only. No, we don't. As I said a few minutes earlier, if Villa lose to City and Liverpool beat Brentford, Villa get 5th, which doesn't help. So we need to wait for the weekend's results as well. So we need to hope on a miracle, basically. But we'll see. Where was Danny Garcia's mustache? The man saved. And the man played better without the mustache. I don't know why. It was a mess game, okay? It was a weird game. I had 0 chances in the first half, prior that Zolakis almost blunder where he lost the ball to Zini but saved it immediately. And it was the usual sight of us creating chance after chance after chance and so on and so forth up until the hero of the playoffs showed up, Rodinei, who scored his fourth goal in 5 games. Mind you, Rodinei hadn't scored all season long. Okay? That's insane. So him not being called up to the World Cup, as he said himself, was a robbery. But I'm happy. I'm happy because my cries have been heard. My cries have been fulfilled. For those of you that have been listening for quite a while, from November-ish, I have been talking about every single show about how Rodinei needs to permanently transition into a winger. He needs to play as a winger. The man scored more goals than El Kabi and our wingers combined in the playoffs. He was our top scorer. And the reason for that is that he is the perfect winger for Jose Luis Mendilibar because he doesn't try stuff. He just does the winger job perfectly, simply, and effectively. The man has scored 4 in 5. And as Mendilibar said, he may think he's a right back, but no, this man is a right winger at his best. And as we will unwrap in a bit, he's staying, and he's staying as a winger. And I'm glad it's probably a few months too late, but I'm glad the club finally realized. Finally. Now, we need to talk about the elephant in the room a bit. And that's El Kabi. I've seen a lot of things being written. We did say a lot of stuff. In my annoyance, I probably said a lot of stuff. But the man had a bad run in the playoffs. He probably had the worst run I've seen in Olympiacos from him. We are talking about our most effective and deadly striker maybe ever. But he's had a bad run. It started before the playoffs because him coming back from Copa Africa and being rushed in the team while injured. Then he had to deal with an injury. He struggled to find his form. And in general, it's been a bad few months from Ayoub El Kabi. He got benched. He started again. And his form has been very off. Mind you, we are talking about a man that still finished as the Super League's top scorer. That doesn't change because it is Ayoub El Kabi. But he needs to rest. Okay? I'm not going to go out and say that we need to sell Ayoub or bring in someone else to start. He needs to rest. And it's a perfect time for him to do so. A bad run of form won't change that this man is our starter until he leaves. A bad run of form won't change that this man is our best striker by far until he leaves, and he'll be back. But he needs to find himself because seeing Ayoub El Kabi have an open chance from that Pineda mistake and just dribble inside and lose the ball eventually to Alberto Brignoli, I'm sorry, that was shocking. That wasn't just shockingly bad. That was shocking because you wouldn't expect that from Ayoub himself. Also, I know that I'm sweating. It's horrifically hot here, so excuse that. But yeah, you would never expect that from a Juve cadet. But I'm sure he'll be back to his best. And the last thing that I do want to talk about the game is this. And this is a perfect transition. For some reason, people argued that the Jolaki save wasn't crucial. And I get that, yeah, okay, PAOK drew, they bottled 2-0 lead. And it wouldn't have mattered if we lost. But come on. A lot of stuff was written because the goal we conceded from AEK was, of course, Zolaki's fault, clearly. Like, that's okay. That's more than okay to admit it's a human mistake. But this man made everything up immediately as he saved what was deemed as a probably unsavable shot by most goalkeepers, by the majority, honestly, and kept the score leveled. And I will argue again that just like he did against Bodo last season, once again, he's one of the main reasons in our UCL ticket. Even though this time it's qualifiers. It's honest. Exactly. That's my argument. That's my argument. PAOK's game wasn't over, and even if it had been over, doesn't change that was a crucial save, both for the game and in general. Our result mattered until the final whistle. Nothing else did. And again, in hindsight, I know we could have even lost. But that save was crucial. Very, very, very crucial. Yeah, me neither. I don't think anyone was prepared for Roddy to embarrass us all. Because the man has heard and has had so much hate thrown right his way unnecessarily. And he shut all of us up by what he did in the playoffs. A season of struggles and injuries for him ends so positively. And I'm so happy because I know that because of that, we'll see the Rodinei of old, the Rodinei with confidence heading into next season. And I'm more than certain that his role is going to be perfectly suited towards him. Genuinely, very, very happy. That's the best way I can put it. Now, after having a small chat about that Messi game, because we have a lot to talk about, first important announcement is this. It's looking increasingly likely, if not certain, that we are going to stay at the Karaiskakis next season. I believe at least that tickets are coming out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that season tickets are going to be announced at the bare minimum tomorrow. And yeah, sadly, it wasn't possible for us to go to Oaxaca this season and get a completely new home over the couple of years that are to come, because it will not feel like the Karaiskakis once everything is done and dusted and we look back at it. It will be the prettiest and easily the best stadium in Greece. Not that it isn't already, but it will be a feeling, I feel like, that not one of us can properly describe and can properly understand, I feel like the new Karaiskakis is going to be something very, very special. But as it seems, we'll have to wait a year. Stuff is looking increasingly towards leaning for summer of 2027. But over the next few months, we'll talk about it more. The most important thing right now is the fact that we will be staying at the Karaiskakis for at least another year. Let me actually see. What do you think about Yazid's announcement that he promised to return? Oh, he will. He will. I don't think there is anyone that doubts that Yusuf Yazid is going to return. Of course, the team are going to keep him and help him with his recovery. That's self-evident, I feel like. And he is going to return. I don't know if he will get any playtime next season. I would hope that he does. I would hope that the summer period helps him just get stuff going at his own pace a bit more, and I would genuinely hope that he returns a bit around March. I feel like would be optimistic to say, because it is a tough one. It's, for those of you that do not know, it's his third ACL, and it's the second in 2 years, similar to how Kostas Fortounis had suffered back when he had his 2 ACLs. But I believe in him. If there is any player I would believe in, it's that man. And I do truly believe that he will come back. And yes, I would, of course, check out how he's recovering. I would, of course, want to see the state in which he came back. But yes, I keep him. I genuinely keep him and give him another chance, because he's done it once, he'll do it again. Now, this is gonna be a long conversation. So strap in, everybody, because we really need to talk about a lot of stuff. Can he bounce back realistically? Yeah, I believe he can. I really believe he can. It's a double back-to-back injury, and I know that's tough. And I know that his age is almost 30. But with the right help, I do believe he will bounce back. I don't know if he'll be able to keep up with our level, but I think he'll play. I think he'll come back and play, and I would hope that he's feeling well enough to come back at a level of Olympiacos football. Now, let's get into it, because we have a lot of transfer talks to do. Of course, earlier today, a chapter was revealed by Nikos Kotsis, and we more or less learned about what Mendilibar and Marinakis talked about, what Mendilibar and Marinakis decided, and what really was focused on. In aims, of course, for Olympiacos to be back on top, in aims for Olympiacos to get back to the Champions League phase, and in aims for us to return to normality. Now, I'm gonna quote the article a lot, so if you see me looking this way, I'm reading, as always, and I will be sharing my opinion throughout, because I am gonna go as the article is going and go position by position and player by player. So this is kind of like a keeps alone, kind of not, because some stuff seems predetermined. So you all give your opinions in the comments as we go through, and we'll discuss everything extensively. Now, of course, it was decided that a lot was needed, a lot has to change, a lot is gonna change. People are leaving. A majority of people need to leave. We need some specific personalities back. We need some new personalities in to give this team some athleticism, some power, some passion again. And in general, we're going to see a different Olympiacos, an effective Olympiacos, and not this underwhelming and underperforming bunch we saw this season. And for a start, I would want to say that, of course, I was pro Mendilibar. Either way, I've been pro Mendilibar throughout the season. The team has to start great next season. We need to get in a Champions League. But I'm very happy not only that Mendilibar is staying, I'm also very, very happy that Mendilibar and Marinakis seem to be working very, very focused together. It's a great start. let's stay at that for now. Now, goalkeeper. Goalkeeper is an interesting start because, again, if you've been following us for a while, you'll know that we've discussed this a lot of times. Right now, Olympiacos has one goalkeeper, and that's, of course, Konstantis Zoulakis. Pasha is going to leave on a free. He'll probably stay in Greece. Aris has been rumored. Kalamata has been rumored. Iraklis has been rumored. And so on and so forth. Pasca's going to leave. Nikos Botis is also going to leave because the man hasn't renewed. And I'm probably the saddest about this one because for those of you that have seen my posts, for those of you that have seen past episodes, I believed in Nikos Botis and I really wanted the kid to stay. Because if anything, I believe that he could back up Zoulakis perfectly. And I really honestly saw him as a Zoulakis replacement down the line. They're similar ages. Zoulakis has a lot more experience due to him starting basically his professional career with us at 17 years old. But Botis wants to go out. He wants to go to a team where he'll be a starter. I don't know if he'll stay in Greece. I don't know if he'll go. I mean, if he'll go outside of Greece to somewhere like back to Italy, maybe. But it really seems like he'll go. So, of course, Olympiacos will go out for two goalkeepers. No names are mentioned, and I do want to respect that. Of course, you've all seen the rumors that have been going around. We all know the rumors about Jose Sa. We all know the rumors about Lefteris Koutesiotis coming in as a third choice. And we all know who we have in the team already in the academy. There's a lot of things going around. But I do want to honestly respect that no names have been mentioned, and I'm not going to go around throwing out stuff. But the focus is that we'll get two goalkeepers with very specific characteristics, and we'll get two goalkeepers with very specific roles. So it will be clear who will be first choice, which will, knock on wood, be Jolakis, who will be second choice, and who will be third choice. So yeah, that's already a big change. And I do want your opinion, especially on Nikos Botis. I don't know if I'm alone in being sad that he is really looking like he'll go, he'll not renew. But I'm hopeful that the team is targeting some specific goalkeepers and that will be equally as full of quality in that position as well next season. Now, I love how I said the goalkeepers are going to be chaotic. We're getting into the wingers and fullbacks territory, and especially fullbacks for a start. Of course, something I talked about a bit earlier, Roddy is going to be permanently transitioned into a winger. Mendy believes that's the best, and after that playoff run, I think everyone believes that that's the best and that he can offer much more as an attacker than a defender at this point. So we will for sure go for one right back. And if the rumors that came out today are to be believed, and that Costinha is going to be sold to Brighton of all places, we'll need to go for two right backs. Because Costinha may not be a certainty of a sale like others, but offers have been coming in for Costinha ever since January. We've heard of interest from, who was it? Benfica, I'm pretty sure. And we've heard from interest from all around Europe, and now the strongest contender seems to be Brighton. So I do feel like we will go for two right backs. And I do feel like that's the best case scenario. Even though I would go for one transfer, and I do have a specific name in mind, I'm not saying don't take this out of context, don't take this as nothing else. I do hope we go for not Christos, for Yorgos Vagianidis. I really hope we go for Yorgos Vagianidis. I believe that he'd fit perfectly into Mendy's system. I know nothing. I'm implying nothing. It's just a wish. I'm hoping that transfer comes through. And I would also consider academy. I would perhaps want to see Alafakis as our second choice right back next season. The kid is amazing. I really don't see why he couldn't hold up as second or maybe even third choice right back next season. Now, centre backs. Retsos, Pirola. The general idea is that we're keeping both of them. And I am hoping and praying and absolutely praying that we're keeping both of them. I'm praying that Pirola stays and doesn't move to Italy, because this man has been a light in a very dark season. And of course, our captain is going to stay. There is no argument in that. And behind them is Julian Biancon. Julian Biancon, of course, a player that we all love here. A very divisive player. Some love, some hate. I don't know if I'm going to look over in the comments now and see just hate spam for Julian. But I still like the guy. There is a big chance he gets put on the chopping block. There's a big chance that we will look to sell him. And the second man that is not going to renew, who also I am quite sad about, is Alexis Kalogeropoulos. The man played minimal minutes this season, sadly, and he said to not renew and to go find a team where he'll be a starter. Which, who can blame the kid? Honestly, it's been rumored that he will move over and go to Italy. I'm pretty sure I did see the name of Monza going around, so that would honestly make a lot of sense. And honestly, it would be the best for both worlds. Now, who's going to come in? Is the very interesting question. We are going to get one center back that can hold up as a starter. I don't know who that will be, but we are going to get a center back that will be an active starter, whether he gets in the first two or can come off the bench and give what an acting starter is going to be, the characteristics, the strength and stuff like that. We are for sure going for that. We need to see also what will happen with the forgotten individual that's named Gustavo Mancha. You will know my opinions about the Brazilian. No disrespect to the kid, honestly. I don't want him at the club. I feel like he needs a few more years to get there, to the level that we need our centre backs to be at. Coach Silaidopoulos does want him at Rio Ave, and there are a few other clubs that do want Gustavo Mancha, so I do believe that he is going to go. Now, all we need to wait for is to see where. If Mancha, Kalogeropoulos, and Julian all go, I believe we'll go for two centre backs and we'll call someone up from the academy, which again, for me, would be ideal. It would be the most ideal scenario that can be, in my opinion. Now, left backs. Yeah. Other teams want Mancha. There are offers from around Europe. Left backs. Left backs is another weird one. Olympiacos won't continue with two non-EU left backs. That's self-evident. It's looking like Francisco Ortega is going to go. Francisco's agent has been bringing offers in. Not has been bringing offers in. Francisco Ortega and his agent have let Olympiacos know that he will bring an offer in from a European team. So it's really looking like Ortega and his agent are aiming to leave the club, if anything, which again, it's honestly best case scenario for both parties. Ortega has given a lot to this club. Ortega is and will forever be part of that legendary team of 2024 and the Conference League. But it is time, and I think both Olympiacos and Ortega recognize that. So he will go. He will be the one to go. So it's a certainty that we are going to go for one left back, and he will be EU. He will have a passport. So we don't have that problem, that unnecessary and unheard of problem that we did before. And Nothing on Bruno yet. Nothing on Bruno yet. So we'll have to wait for that. I wouldn't be mad in keeping Bruno. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Now, a lot to talk about in the midfield. A lot to talk about in the midfield. I'm glad to see that my chat loves Ortega. I'm glad to see that you guys aren't celebrating at all about the news of him going away. Now, midfield. Nothing is certain. I'm going to start with that. Nothing is certain. We don't know basically nothing yet about the midfield. I'm going to start with the thing that people are going to hate. Mendilibar wants Danny to renew. Danny Garcia has an optional +1 in his current contract. We don't know if it will be activated, but quoted again, it's looking like Mendilibar wants him in the team, which is something we knew. And let me preface, before everyone goes nuclear, I would want Garcia to get the +1 activated as long as his role changes. If he becomes the veteran that he is, that will close out games in the Super League and get minimal time compared to his consistent starting 11 appearances this season, I want Garcia in the team. But before I get striked by Zeus here, but if Danny Garcia renewing means that Danny Garcia will be our starting midfielder next season, no, I do not want Danny Garcia to renew. That's a given. So it's an either or, in my opinion. Honestly, depending on circumstances, we'll see. So please don't go absolutely nuclear. Now, we are, as things stand, looking at some specific cases with some specific characteristics. And it won't be one, it will probably be two. We're looking for more box-to-box midfielders. We're looking for more scoring midfielders, as our midfielders barely, if ever, scored this season. And we're looking for details. And we have locked on to one or two players whose names will be known down the line. Now, winger-wise, because the comment said that we need to significantly strengthen our wingers and fullbacks, which I do agree with, winger-wise. Zelson, Andre Luiz, and Rodinei. Right now, those are our wingers. No one else is under contract, which is insane. They'll stay, as it seems. Especially focusing on Andre Luiz, it's looking like he'll stay. And I'm happy. I'm really happy that Andre Luiz will stay, because I feel like that Andre Luiz, if he gets a proper preseason with the team under his belt, I feel like he'll help a lot. I do believe in the player. He's talented. He's clearly talented. So we'll see. The main thing is that they'll stay. Now, Danny Podence. Right now, Danny Podence, if nothing changed, would go back while Shabab. But nothing has been decided. It's weird. It's complicated. No decision has been made yet. Danny has had a bad year. He came to the club with no preseason, injured, injuries carried on like a weight on his back through the entire season. He had a mediocre to genuinely bad season. But I would give him a preseason. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I would give Daniel a preseason. And if we see a fit Daniel and the Danny we know and love, as the comment just asked, yes, I'm keeping Danny Podence. If he plays like himself, I'm keeping Danny Podence. Now, another forgotten individual is, I don't know if my camera cut out. I hope it didn't. Do let me know if you all can hear me and see me normally, because on my setup stuff went dark for a second. Another forgotten individual is Remy Cabella. Remy Cabella is not going to stay in France. And for those of you that forgot, he was loaned. He wasn't sold to Nantes. Nantes, of course, that got relegated after a lot of years. Of course, wouldn't keep Remy Cabella. So we need to wait and see what happens with him. Because as things stand now, he's an Olympiacos player for now. Strefezza also. I think that the very impressive Strefezza, going back to Parma and having a hell of a season after being loaned out from Olympiacos, it really looks like Strefezza is going to go. I don't know to where, but it really looks like Strefezza is going to go. One scenario is Parma. Parma do want to keep him, and we'll see if they do. But there are a lot of other offers as well. Como is one. Como wants him back. Fabregas wants him back. If he is to go, I feel like he'll go easily, because there is a lot of interest, especially from Italy, towards Gabriel Strefezza. And rightfully so. I've said this again, I'll say this again. Gabriel Strefezza is not a bad player. He's just not fit for here. Gabriel Strefezza is a great player, just not fit for Olympiacos football. And not to gloss over him, I love the guy. I love Masur, as I've said this before. I'll say it again. Masur is a legend. He wants to continue in Saudi Arabia, and that's probably what's going to happen, because he's had an insane season. So rightfully so, he wants to stay there. Now, strikers, and 10-ish. The Mendilibar 10, the 9.5 position. Tiki as a 10 is basically on his own. We have no one else that can play there, and Tiki has been run to the ground this season, and he's also been troubled by a lot of injuries. He's also been troubled by a lot of stuff. And honestly, I would be the happiest guy to see him get some backup. Again, I feel like my setup keeps freezing. Let me actually fix that while I keep talking. I would be the happiest guy to see Chiquinho get some backup, and I would be the happiest guy to see a player like Kostulas come in. A player like Kostulas needs to come in. A player like Kostulas was missed. I fixed it. A player like Kostulas was missed this season. And honestly, a player like Kostulas is thankfully what we're looking for. And if you were to ask me personally, that's the first thing I'd go for in the transfer window. In any position, in any department, whether that would be wingers, fullbacks, centre backs, midfielders, first things first, I would either bring back Kostulas, ideally. I don't know how possible that is, but I would try and bring back Kostulas on loan from Brighton, or, as the team says, Olympiacos will chase after a player with the characteristics of Babis Kostulas. So it's looking like it will happen a season too late, but we are going to, at the bare minimum, replace Kostulas. Kostas Fortounis, of course, will come back. Kostas Fortounis has been a certainty for a while now, and he's going to bring back a lot of things to this team. He's going to bring back a lot of quality, a lot of creativity that's needed in this team. And sadly, we talked about him. Yes, he has his ACL. Now, Taremi. Taremi, of course, Mendy tried to use Taremi as that behind the striker position, but that failed miserably. And as we've seen in the playoffs, Taremi has now been used as a solo striker in place of Ayoub El Kabi. And getting into the strikers, as I said before, a bad run of form is not going to take the starting position away from Ayoub El Kabi, but behind him it's chaos. Roman Yaremchuk is more than likely going to come back. And with the incredible performances he's having at Lyon, who cannot keep him solely for financial reasons, Roman Yaremchuk, if he's set to stay, I'm not going to be too confident yet. If Roman Yaremchuk is set to stay, he would stay as a second striker. He would have an advanced role. He would play either with or behind El Kabi. So, Taremi will probably go. Taremi has offers from in Europe and outside of Europe, and it's looking increasingly likely that Mehdi Taremi gets sold in the summer. Now, Clayton, we don't know. Clayton hasn't really done anything to earn the trust of Mendilibar. And Clayton is also non-EU. Clayton is Brazilian. So he's, quote-unquote, part of that category of problems as well. So it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. It's an intriguing puzzle. And we'll see what happens. Because if someone goes, we will probably move for a striker as well. I know stuff is very complicated right now. And I'm going to catch up to the comments. I know stuff is very complicated right now. But stuff will clear up and we're heading in the right direction. honestly. Some players you would recommend for the next day. I don't want to get into that just yet. Because, as I said, I want to respect that no names have really been thrown around. But there are some specific players. I did mention one. I did mention Vagianidis. I would love to see Vagianidis at Olympiacos. There's a lot of players that I would love to go after, but we'll get into those step by step. Would you like Roman Yaremchuk to return? Yes. I said this from the beginning. I never wanted Roman Yaremchuk to go. I felt like it was a huge mistake loaning him out, and he proved it. Roman needed to be the second striker here. He never should have fallen back. He's playing amazingly at Lyon in one of, whether we like it or not, in one of the best leagues in Europe. And he deserves a spot here and an active spot in the roster, honestly. Danny Potens, I did answer this comment. I would keep Danny Potens. We need to keep Seba. We need to bring back Seba and Josh Bowler. God, what are the names? The name, the memory. And for those of you that don't know, since we mentioned him here, this is a signed shirt, and I have Bowler's signature on there as well. Just a fun fact. Wild season, but a very positive look forward, honestly. And if I had to end the show in any way, I would say the self-evident thing that Olympiacos never forgets, and Olympiacos always comes back. I'll see you all in 2 days for a Final Four warm-up show on the night before, on Thursday. The support you all have given me is insane, and I appreciate it more than anything. You all are making dreams come true, and you don't even know this. I am gonna ignore that sacrilegious comment. I will feel sick reading that. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for your support and stuff you realize and stuff you don't. As always, I'll see you in the next one.